What up, Green Gang? We're back at it on the Green Bros Grow Show. I know it's been a little bit, but today we got It's Be You Dig on board, and we're going to talk a little bit about some electrical safety, especially in the grow room, but in general. Uh, we use a lot of electricity in the modern times nowadays, and a lot of American standards haven't kept up with our European counterparts. So we would like to discuss a little bit about some electrical safety and make sure you guys understand what's overloading a circuit and what might be a fire hazard or not, and just go over some basics. So, what's up, B?
Hell yeah, what's going on? Hey, first off, I want to thank you for having me on the show, fam. It's a pleasure to be here. By trade, I am an electrician, so for me to talk about this shit is and to help keep everybody safe is fucking big plus for me.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
Electrical safety is something you should definitely take serious in the garden, um, because as you know or not know, electrical or electricity is deadly, and just zero point 0.3 milliamps will kill you. Your average lights, your grow lights, are roughly about an amp. So zero point 0.3 milliamps is not much.
Not much at all. And like that kind of brings it a good point to talk about how much is enough to harm somebody slash kill somebody of electricity. Because there's a lot of misconceptions out there. Well, it's not the voltage, it's the amperage, or it's not this, it's not that. What is the true lowdown on where you should be real sketched out about
So,
electricity?
so you should be real sketched out anytime you work with electricity, unless you're a trained professional, regardless. Um, Even as a trained professional, I'm still not more scared, just more respecting the craft, more respecting the what it can and cannot do. So it is zero point 0.3 milliamps, which is 0.03 of an amp. That's it. That's all it takes to kill you. That's it.
Not much
Right?
at all.
No. You could get that off of 12-volt circuit. You could get that off of a 120-volt circuit, 220, 240, so on and so forth. It does not care
It
how
doesn't.
much voltage, how much voltage it has.
And then right here, I got a little like depiction or a little graph here of not only is it not the amount of electricity, but it's kind of the path of the electricity that it takes throughout your body that might be the more harmful aspect as well. So you want to touch on that a little bit?
Very true, very true. So I don't know if you guys know this, but right here in the middle of your chest, you got a heart, right? And say this could be, if you look at it as like like you're like a car jumper, like you're jumping a car with jumper cables, right? Your hands are the cables, and you're the other car, right? So if you put one clamp on and you're trying to charge the car, and you put the other one on, then you got a whole circuit that's running right through you, right? Goes right through your heart, right across, and that's what'll kill you. That'll send you into cardiac arrest. If not, turn you into a little marionette doll real quick.
Make you be
Same
dancing.
thing. Oh yeah, oh yeah. And I've seen some shit. People you just looking at them, just frozen, just yeah. And
Lock
that
up.
lock is no joke. You don't. If you ever see anything like that, hopefully none of you will. Don't ever touch them. Get a piece of wood and fucking knock them off.
Yep. And when it comes to electrical safety in the commercial aspect, there's a lot of personal protection gear and whatnot that people use when they're approaching high voltage circuits or high amperage circuits, and lockout, tag out systems. There's all kinds of codes and craziness that can be involved in that. So
Oh
if
yeah.
you do run across like it's kind of a meme or whatnot from back in the day, you run across the down line, call the peoples, or if you run
Yep.
across an electrical
Please.
mishap, call somebody. Especially if you don't know what you're doing, call somebody. Sure.
Yep. Our power company out here still says that in the commercials. If you see a down line,
Hmm.
call PG&E. Yep. Yeah, don't ever fuck with that shit. However, to keep you safe in your garden, that's what we're here for today, and we are going to keep you safe.
Absolutely. So, kind of touched on it a little bit earlier how our European neighbors have a little bit of different electrical system than us here in the North America, Canada area. Um, let's talk a little bit about residential voltages and kind of like what to expect, at least here in America and then abroad, with the differences between like 120 volts or the 220 or 240 that most of the world uses.
Yeah. So, across the United States, in your house, you have 120 volts that you actively use. You have 240 volts coming into your house from the power line. The power company supplies two hots and a neutral, a feedback, something that goes back to the grid. And when that comes into your house, that hits your main panel, usually on the outside of your house. And then off of there, you got two hots and a neutral that come through your, in my case, it's my garage, comes through my garage and then ends up in my sub panel. And in my sub panel, it splits off into two sides, right? You got your odd numbers and you got your even numbers. And that signifies two different legs of the circuit, right? So it's not just, you don't only have just 120 volts coming in, right? In your house, it is 240 volts. Usually, ovens run off of 240 volts, or your dryer, perhaps. Um, but you also can run your LED lights off of them and your grow lights. And if you do that, you higher your amp or higher your voltage, the lower your amperage. Lower your amperage, the less money you're going to be paying on your power bill.
Absolutely, absolutely. And here's kind of a depiction of the panel B is talking about that may come into your garage or maybe into your basement or an out space for your house. And this is what it looks like with the panel taken off. So
Yeah,
like,
so you'll have a door on there that you just pull open, and you'd only be able to access the breakers, the switch on the breakers. If you're accessing any more than that, you might want to call your general electrician to
hmm
get him out there. You might be needing a cover for that.
that or have 'em, it's be you did come over, somebody that's qualified.
Give me a call. Numbers down here at the bottom of the screen. No, I'm just kidding.
But these big 3 black wires coming in, those were the 3 lines that B was talking about, and these are the super danger lines if you get into your circuit box. If you touch anywhere near here, you can be very hurt.
Oh yeah.
So, if you're messing around inside your electrical box, like B says, like a lot of electrical people say, if you're messing inside your box, please, please know what you're doing, and at the very least, know what you're doing, but preferably call somebody. Because if you
Yeah.
unfortunately, this is a true fact too, is if you're working on your own electrical and you mess something up and you are not qualified, your insurance will not cover the stuff. I'm just gonna put this out there right now. I wired up my own grow on 220, but I'm taking on any liability if it were to catch fire or anything like that because the insurance company will not cover it. So please have a certified electrician like B or somebody messing with your electrics because that way you'll be safe. And if something does happen, you're covered. Now, I want to talk a little bit about like what's a GFCI, what's an AFCI, like should we be using these in our grow and our homes, basically, and like how do they protect us a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. 100%. You should definitely always use GFCIs in your house. You want to use GFCIs anywhere around a wet location, such as like your sink or your dishwasher or any any washing machines out in the garage, anything like that, or wherever you got your washing machines at. Should always be GFCI protected. And a GFCI is a ground fault circuit interrupter. And if anything over, I Generally, I want to say zero point 0.2 to zero point 0.3 milliamps. That's when your little switch on the front of the thing will
Pop.
pop. And then you go to plug something in, you get all pissed off because it doesn't work, and you're like, "Oh shit, push the button, duh!" Right? So those are GFCIs. Those will keep you safe from like any overcurrent protection. Right? That's basically what it is overcurrent protection. You also have arc fault circuit interrupters, and AFCI usually goes on a breaker. As you can see on the picture that Goblin was just showing, some GFCIs do have AFCIs built into them, and those are pretty new. Those are give or take about 5, 10 years old that I've seen them out there. Um, but AFCIs are usually breakers. Now you take those out and you take them with your standard receptacle plugs, right? Whatever circuit you have electrical or receptacles on, and you would switch out your normal breaker, which is just that same looking breaker without the blue test button on the front and that little pig coil on the bottom. That little pig coil and goes into your neutral, so that whenever you go to plug something in and you see a little spark come out, that doesn't happen anymore. The AFCI gets rid of that, and you go to plug something in. You don't have to worry about anything catching fire. They use a lot of those at like processing plants, oil processing plants.
Yeah, where there's
So
fumes and stuff where
yeah.
you can't have sparks and whatnot happening.
hmm Um, for your average gardener, it's always good to have those in your house per se, just in general. If you got kids or anything like that, it also protects that little spark from coming out and them getting shocked, right?
Hmm.
So GFCIs and AFCIs are definitely something that I would always incorporate in my not only my garden but my house.
Hell yeah, keep it nice and safe, uh, especially when people are in a garden environment. For sure, you're spraying. It's high humidity environment most of the time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's good to just be safe and have the ground fault or the arc fault interrupts, and preferably
I
have
just want to.
everything that you wired up. There's kind of a contention in the electrical sphere of whether you need a ground or not. I'm just going to put it out there. This is my opinion, and we'll ask B here in a second. You absolutely need a ground. This is my opinion.
1,000%, 1,000%. If you're working ungrounded, whatever outlet you got the shit plugged into, unplug it. Take that whole receptacle out. Go down to Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever hardware store you use. Go get a GFCI outlet and plug it in. You don't have to have a ground plugged in. It can run off of just a hot and a neutral, and it works the same way. And if you have any outlets in your house that are ungrounded as well, I recommend do the same thing. But I just want to put this out there for safety and anything else. Heat, bad. Anytime I say heat, I want you to remember bad. And I tell people this all the time. Unless you're running a heater,
Hmm.
then obviously,
Then yeah, the desired consequences happening. But yeah,
yeah.
so yeah,
But
let's
heat,
speak a
bad.
little bit on that. Honestly, if you walk up to your electrical panel, and obviously it's all closed up with the door on it and everything, and you put your hand on it and it's warm, should you be concerned?
Generally not. Just because that's where everything's coming back to. So you put your hand on that, and you're gonna feel the warmth coming off of those breakers. But if it's like, when I say warmth, I mean like above room temperature, right? I don't mean
80,
like
90,
put your hand on
100.
it. Yeah, if you put your hand on it and that shit fucking burns you, call your electrician right away. Go to your main breaker, go turn that shit off, and go call your general electrician because that's not good.
Hell yeah, that's not good at all. And the same goes with like if you do have extension cords, let's touch on extension cords and power strips a little bit.
I got you.
Um,
Hold on, hold on.
hell yeah.
You got your long cord with your Radio Shack power strip, right? You think, oh, okay, cool. It's got six outlets on it. I can plug six things into there. Keep in mind, even though it's got six output or six inputs on it, the cord can still only carry so much. So can your powers, right? You plug it into the wall, your wires can only carry so much amperage. If you got a million things plugged into here and you're trying to plug that shit into the wall, go touch it. Go give it a little squeeze. See, that shit's hot. I bet you it is. Most of the time, these things only run up to 10 amps max.
Yeah, that's all I've
Max.
seen. I've seen some that do 20, but they're like specialty order shits. So, like, if you're buying a power strip at the Home Depot, Walmart, Lowe's type situation, yeah,
No, I don't recommend them. I use them in my garden just for like fan purposes, having
yeah,
a
low power
connect multiple
purposes.
fans. Yeah, don't ever connect lights to it. Especially if you're running like high power lights. I'm running two Maxi 7 PB 4000 Pros, and they're give or take around 4 amps each. So if I put them up, all the way, I'm running about 8 amps. Plus, I got another set of lights that runs another 2 amps. Plus, I got another set of lights that runs another 2 amps. What are we up to now? 12?
Yeah,
12 amps?
about 14.
Most of the time, your system maxes out at 15 amps. And I put that with quotation marks because you don't ever want to max that out.
Yeah,
You want room for, well, breathing room, right? Um,
that's actually a good point. There is a rule for a lot of electricians and people that work with electricity and circuits is that, from what I heard, is you don't want to exceed over 80% of the circuit's capacity.
80%. So you're looking at more like 12 amps topping out, give or take, somewhere in that range. Um, unless you did the work and you know what you're doing and you ran this bigger, thicker wire
Yeah,
that can carry higher amperage. But once again, let's all be safe here, right? Um, most of the time, I would say in your garden, you want to have two circuits, one for lighting and one for fans. Now, the reason why I say one for fans is you're going to look at me and say, oh, my fan only runs at 32 watts. But to start that motor to get that fan up to speed, it's, I believe, five times the,
yeah,
maybe 5 or 10,
it boosts up there
something like
quite a
that.
bit. Yeah,
So you have to have a lot of amperage or a lot more power than actual running time to run that fan. So if you have as many fans as I got on my system, got 8 different fans right now. Um, So yeah, running them all at the same time, you're gonna keep that load right where it needs to be at. But starting them all, that's gonna be a problem.
yep. Just like, it's probably pretty common for some people. Sometimes, the refrigerator might trip a breaker in their home because the compressor kicks on, and then there's other things running, and all of a sudden now it's too much. The same difference is that's why a lot of appliances are on different circuit breakers for a reason.
And I even now I got a refrigerator plugged in, I got my lights on, and even when that refrigerator kicks on, I still see my lights go dim
Yeah,
and then they come back. Right. So every time that and that's that compressor for the refrigerator that's turning on. So your fans kind of do the same thing.
yeah. Anything that's like a motor that has to get started up. That's where it's gonna take a lot of power for sure. Once it gets
Yeah.
going, it doesn't take as much at all, but it takes a lot to start it.
Yeah. Think about like when you're driving a car, right? And you're trying to get up to that speed, you're stepping on the gas to get up there faster, right? And
Mhm.
then you get to that speed and then you let off the gas and just coast.
Kinda just
Same thing
touch
with
the pedal a little
fans.
bit, yeah. So now we kinda gone over, like, some residential voltages, some, like, GFCI, AFCI, extension cord, knowledge. That's kinda and you kinda ran through your setup on, splitting up the fans and the lights. Is there,
Yeah.
like,
So
any other
uh,
way or any other thing that people should be considering when, maybe hiring an electrician to do their work or, building out their grow space themselves?
so usually in a house, At least out here in California, the way we do it is we'll split the systems or split the circuits between different rooms of the house, right? So most of the time, you're never going to have two circuits in one room unless the
Specifically did that.
view or yeah specifically happen like that. And your house is always going to be on 120. Now, also, if you run your lights or whatever system you have that can run off of 240 volts, it might be beneficial for you to add that extra circuit in. Yeah, it might cost you a little bit now, but it's going to cost you a lot less in the long run. The reason why I say that is because if you have a higher voltage, you're also going to have a lower amperage. It's less money on the wallet.
Absolutely, and I can attest to that because I was running like 10 high-powered lights all off of several 120-volt circuits, and I recently all combined them onto one 240 circuit, and the wiring's much cooler, talking about the heat thing,
Cuts your
everything
amperage in half.
yeah, everything runs more efficient.
Hmm.
It's kinda crazy, honestly, because it's like, uh my Mars Hydro FC6500, that uses like 5.7 amps on 120,
Hmm.
but like 2.39 on 240. Like
And
it's
what you get
more,
charged for?
it's less than half of the total, like crazy.
What your power company is really charging you for is your amperage. How much amperage you're using, how often, when they take all that, and then they give you a fat ass bill.
Mhm.
If you can run it all at 240, you're gonna cut that bill in half. I shit you not.
Hell yeah, and, some people can actually find out about how much kilowatt hours they're using by literally looking at their box on the outside of the house that counts the power. A lot of,
Yeah,
uh
yeah.
a lot of people have digital meters now, which are a lot easier to read for the layman, and you can go out and see how much your house is using just by looking at the panel there.
And you can do all these calculations as well. Like the power company should have that information available, and you could calculate as much, or you could calculate how your power gets spent and billed and all that shit.
Yeah, like, for
Um,
instance, I don't know how much you guys get charged, but we get charged around 16 cents per kilowatt hour, and, like, we can kinda go into this too a little bit. We have, um, a time in which we get billed less money because it's, more efficient for the electrical company. So maybe you can talk about that a little bit and why,
yeah. So
people can save money that way.
so you got your normal operating hours, which out here is anywhere outside the hours of 3:30 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. or 3:30 p.m. to 9:30 or 4 to 9 or some shit like that. Those are our peak hours. And the reason why I say those are peak hours is because that's when everybody's getting home off of work and wanting to settle down, turn the TV on,
Turning
turn
the
some
air
lights
conditioner
on,
on, all
turn
that.
the air conditioner on. So the power grid works. It's only got so much power, right? And if everybody's at home turning all the shit on at the same time, you're gonna start having brownouts and whatnot. So that's basically the power company's way of saying, hey, keep your shit off, otherwise we're gonna charge you, right? And so usually that's when I have my lights are on their or my plants are on their downtime. Is I'll have my lights go off at 3:30 in the afternoon, and they don't come on. My veg lights don't come on until 9:30 at night, and then my flower lights don't come on until 3:30 in the morning. So for like schedule purposes, for like plant wise, that kind of like makes sense to me because when I wake up, I'm not hungry. I don't want to fucking eat. I'm just like, give me some coffee.
Yeah,
Let me smoke real quick. Let me chill out. Right. So the plants are kind of like the same way. Gives them time to wake up. So that by the time I get up, they're like, oh, hey, what's going on? Happy afternoon.
I'm ready for water,
Right.
I'm ready for food, let's go.
Yeah. So for me, the peak hours kind of work out. It's just from 3:30 to 9:30, I'm like fucking sitting here twiddling my thumbs,
Mhm.
like, fuck, man, I wonder how they're doing.
But hey, you're saving, probably 10 or 15 bucks a month by doing that on
Yeah,
the electric
yeah.
bill.
And I don't know if all the power companies do that, but I know for sure out here, um, they do that. They run peak hours. So
Our
yeah, if you got peak hours, take care of it.
yeah,
Switch your lights off.
at least here in the Midwest, Michigan area, at least in my area, at least there's a downtime from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Oh damn.
So yeah, definitely check on your local power company and see what their peak hours are, and try to run your lights at least if you have separate areas, at least your blooming lights. Try to run those during the non-peak hours because your bloom
Yeah.
lights and you know your flowering area is going to use more power than your veg area.
Oh yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Definitely take advantage of those peak hours. They're not bad. Here, I think they triple our rates or quadruple them or some shit. They charge out the ass for power out
Yeah,
here.
that's one thing extremely grateful for. Even our off time, our off time is 16 cents a kilowatt hour, and then like when it's their peak shit, like it's like 20. So it's not crazy. So even if you wanted to run during the day or whatnot around here, it's not a huge difference on the electric bill. But
Yeah.
every little bit helps. And when you got a computer and you got, 4 TVs in the house and you got the dishwasher, you got all these other electrical appliances, every little bit helps. That's for damn sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And then one last thing I wanted to touch on is that there are some devices that you wouldn't really think use a lot of electricity in the garden that actually do really use a lot of electricity in the garden. For instance,
Oh yeah.
I have the Hydrolock drip right irrigation system in the large bloom room, and just the pump for that, it's a 1 horsepower pump, but just the pump for that uses 11 amps continuously.
Yeah.
So like if you're setting up a large irrigation system, um, keep in mind, a lot of people don't keep in mind electricity when they're setting up water. But keep in mind, you may need to keep an entirely separate circuit just for your irrigation system if you're building a larger grow space. So
Yeah.
maybe you have an idea of a device that uses more electricity than what people think.
So generally, when I'm this whole box that I made, this whole system over here, I created it fucking out of scratch, right, from the ground up. So me kind of like designing what I was gonna put in there was I had to sit down and think about it for a minute, and you can do all the load calculations you want throughout the day, and you can come up with how much you're gonna be running and whatnot. But if you don't have a meter, if you don't have a power meter plugged in, you're never gonna know.
This is true.
And
So true.
you could get the ones that you plug into the wall. Now again, those don't run them over 10 amps. So if
Hmm.
you got, a light on there, two lights on there, that's it. That's all you can have on there. Right. And then you got to get another system in there and, heat bad.
Hmm.
So yeah, I always recommend using like a watt stopper or something like that. In my system, I have it set up to where I got some fancy shit.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a little system that glows, tells me, how much amperage, wattage, and voltage it's running right now,
Hell yeah.
how many kilowatt hours, a couple other numbers on there that don't even really matter. Like I got a timer that only goes up to 99 minutes or 99 hours or something like that. So I maxed that timer out a long time ago and it doesn't fucking start over. But you definitely want to, I keep it around because it tells me the amperage
Hell yeah.
and the wattage, how much wattage I'm using. So definitely get something like that. Mine is a in.
Like
I
inline.
actually wired. Yeah, I wired my shit in. So you can get those. They're not hard to install. But generally, I recommend getting a watt stopper at least.
Yeah.
something that you're going to be able to visually see, and when you dim the light, it responds to that dimmer, and you know, something like that.
And then speaking of like electrical testing equipment and whatnot, um, there are things that are is like a little wand. I don't even know what it's called, honestly. You probably do, but you can hold it next to a wire and kind of tell if it has electricity going through it. It'll light up.
Yeah.
Um,
So it's basically it's feeling for the electrical static charge that's around the wire. So then, like, you can use them to trace out wires in the wall and figure out where they're going. I I haven't seen those used in quite a while, but generally use them in like retrofitting, and when you're trying to map shit out you don't have
okay.
blueprints on. They'll spend like fucking a few weeks out there with these fucking wands going up and down the wall. Like, okay, we got a circuit here. So the fucking dipshit that made the
The
property
plans.
ran off with the plans or lost the plans or something. So yeah, but I haven't seen it. Most of the time, we usually have blueprints and we just go off of that. Now, whether the shit's accurate or not,
You
generally
hope so.
no. But it's within the area.
Oh yeah,
um, but yeah, if you could get a like a voltage tester or
like a
something like that,
multimeter.
yeah, like a multimeter, and I've got quite a few of them. I'm not gonna lie. Hold on, let me break one of them out. Because in case you don't know what a multimeter is. Right, so it's like something like this, and they got a whole bunch of different ones. Like this one, this is a clamp meter. You clamp that onto a wire, and it'll test your amperage, single wires at a time.
Yep.
Otherwise, you start getting like backfeed and whatnot. It won't read it right. Um, this one will go up to like 600 volts. Um, and then you got like this one. This does the same thing. You put it around a wire, and it'll tell you the amperage through the screen, test voltage, amperage, test continuity, and whatnot. When you're trying to find wires, someone lost the plans. Finding continuity is a good thing. You could definitely do a lot with that as an electrician. But yeah, they have uh, meters. I definitely recommend getting one of those if you don't have one. They're not too expensive. You can find them 60, 70,
I was
$80.
gonna say a decent one's like
Uh,
$100. Like you don't. There's a company out there called Fluke, and they have really great multimeters, and they're like industrial standard and whatnot. But they'll cost you like 3, 4, 500 for a single meter.
yeah,
So
yeah,
a
and
regular
they have
residential $100 meter would do you just fine. You don't need the super ball-in meter.
yeah, no. As an electrician, this is I use Milwaukee one. Seems pretty accurate. It's like my daily driver. I got Flukes, I got Ideal, but that one fits my needs pretty well, and it's doesn't have very many bells and whistles on it. So,
I like it. Looks like
so
extremely pocketable, or like you can
oh
put it
yeah,
on a tool belt or something.
yeah. Another thing I recommend, especially if you're building your system out, would be just a simple outlet tester or circuit tester. Now, it's not going to tell you any readings other than if something's hot.
Yeah,
I don't have anything
if
hot
it's
over here.
on or not, basically.
Yeah, but it's definitely a handy little tool just to have, especially if you're in a grow and your lights don't work for some reason.
Can't
Instead
tell
of you
why.
throwing out the light, yeah, instead of you throwing out the light, maybe you just got a loose wire in your system or some shit like that, right?
Hell yeah. Well, shit. This has been a pretty informative little talk. I think. Been good chilling with the It's Be You Dig, learning about some
Yeah,
electronics and electrical safety. Now I do know that It's Be You Dig's got his own channel going, and if you want to check out his build on like his grow space, and I believe he's going to be doing a little bit more electrical safety tip videos and whatnot. Make sure you
oh
go,
yeah,
Phil, and hang out with It's Be You Dig over on his channel. The link will be down in the description. And anything, last final safety tips for the peoples out there?
yeah. If it's hot, It's what?
Bad.
Bad. Stay
Fire
away from it
bad.
if it's hot. Unplug it. Let it cool off a minute. Don't plug that shit in. Use separate circuits. Always keep yourself safe, man. Don't We don't want anybody to burn their house down because they're trying to grow a pound,
Right?
right?
And use
So yeah,
quality extension cords and don't overload them.
always look at the package and read what's on it. The cheap fucking extension cords at your store, don't go for them. They're usually like less than 10 amps that they can carry. Go to Home Depot, go to your Lowe's, whatever, hardware store. You got to spend a little bit of money, get something a little bit thicker. Read the packaging. I usually go for the one that's about 20 amps. No matter what I'm using the wire for, 20 amps, you're safe.
Which is a good point. Yeah, if you overdo it, it's not a bad thing in electricity. If you got too thick a wire, the electricity will still go through it, even though you're using less electricity than what it can handle.
Look, when you're plugging into this thing, you're basically telling everything you got plugged in that yes, you can take that energy, you can use that power. But through this wire, it's saying, nah, bro, I'm about to catch on fire.
Bro, this shit's
read your
heavy.
read, yeah, read it. Read your packaging.
Hell yeah. Well, shout out Isby Dig for coming by and chilling, talking on the Green Bros Grow Show about some electrical
Hell yeah,
safety.
bro.
And
Thanks for having me, fam.
no problem, Isby. Like I said, make sure you go check the man out. Link is in the description. He always documenting his grows and talking about different grow aspects. Check him out, and we'll see you on the next Green Bros Grow Show.
Hell yeah. All right,
Later.
y'all. Stay safe out there.